Salute to you all. The brave never fall. Are you ready? Are you ready every day? Are you ready when you wake up? Are you ready to go to bed for the next day? Are you ready midday? Are you ready when someone tells you you can't do what you want to do? Are you ready when your boss comes in and says your deadline is up? Are you ready when your children come in and say, I'm failing at something, I really need your help? Are you ready when your spouse comes in and says, I need a little more from you? Are you ready when your own ego and your own mind tells you you could be doing more? Are you ready? Behind you, if you can use your peripheral vision, how far can you actually see behind you? Behind you are events, circumstances, people, places, and things that occurred in your life that taught you lessons, humbled you, made you compassionate, made you who you are, made you love more, made you intense, perhaps made you insecure, made you less confident, made you unsure of who you are, made you unaware of what your purpose is. But it's behind you. It's behind you. You have to turn around and walk backwards to actually go through all those events again. If you followed the Brave Never Fall through this first phase up to this point, you know that there's an exercise I use about going back in your memories and actually using your memories as a resource, almost like a library, a records archive, where you can go back into any memory and you can interact in that memory the best way that you remember it, and you can change the outcome of that memory any way you see fit. Meaning, you can go back into that memory and you can pick out certain situations where in your mind in the current moment, you replay stories in your mind over and over and over again, but they're only the way that you remember it. No one ever thinks, what if I could go back and change that memory? I can't change it. Yes, you can. You can change it in your memory. Your memories are no different than your dreams. They're just a construct in your mind. That moment is gone. There's no way you can go back and access any point of that memory. You can't physically touch it. You can't smell anything from that memory. You can't see anything from that memory. You can't hear anything from that memory. That memory exists only in your subconscious, and your brain projects it into your mind, and you see it as vividly as you see the world around you today in the moment you are right now. The difference is that in your memory access, you can change things. Unlike in the moment right now, the only thing you can change is your outcome of what you're doing in this moment based on choice and decisions. But in your subconscious, in your mind, you can go back and change anything that you want and fit the narrative that fits you, the person that you are today. You can change that outcome in your past. You can go back into your memory banks and you can say, this situation sucked at the time. Look at all the things that I did wrong. And what you can do is you can go into those memories and you can actually affect them in a way where you say, great, I did things wrong. I did things wrong. I failed at a very, very high level. However, in my memory, I can change those things. What would I have done if I had done this? What could I have done to change this scenario? What could I have said to this person to change this outcome? How could I approach all of these scenarios? Remain who I am. Approach all these scenarios and remain who I am, but make the little minor adjustments that would have made all the difference at the time. Those minor adjustments are all that took at that time to change who you are right now in the present moment. But that moment's over. You have to deal with where you're at now. And where you're at now is a place where the decisions thus far have dictated where you are right now. Are you ready to proceed forward knowing all that? Knowing that the next step produces the same thing that you're so focused on in the past. The next step is another step that in your past where you say, oh, I should have done this, or could have done that, or would have done this. That next step is another step where you're going to have that next memory. It's like an escalator. It's constantly rotating. Where you step on that escalator at that point in time dictates where you are on that escalator. And when do you want to change things? Do you want to walk faster up the escalator, or do you want to walk back down it? Even though it's moving up, you're walking back down it. What do you want to do with your life? I follow Tao, and I don't talk about it enough on this podcast. And I certainly don't tell you how it influences me in the positive ways that it does. The concept of "are you ready" comes from my understanding of Tao, where you always have a point where there is a new beginning. And those new beginnings happen more frequently than people realize. They happen virtually every second of your life. Are you ready for the next step? Look before you. There's a path. There's a journey. At this point, if you followed the Brave Never Fall podcast in phase 1 all the way up to this point, you realize that we went over a mountain, and now we're kind of taking a breather and resetting for the volcano. Another goal. You have to find in yourself another goal that's even bigger than the last one that you took on. And you have to take it on with courage and bravery. Brave and bold. Are you ready for that? Because some people reach that mountain, they go over it, and they hit a valley. And that valley is lush, and it's beautiful, and it's abundant, and it has everything that you want in it. Unfortunately, people get lost in the valley. There's so many trees and abundance of life and everything going on, and it's such a beautiful utopia that they lose sight of their path. They lose their path, and then they want to get back on the path, and they don't know where they dropped off of it. So you spend a significant amount of time trying to find that path, which is nothing wrong with that. I always tell people, be in search of your path rather than not being in search of your path. In Tao, we teach ourselves individually that each day that we go into has its own natural flow state, its own natural properties. It is its own entity, it's its own thing, and it's only going to happen once. Every time you wake up, every day that you have, there's no repeat of that day. That day is only here for that 24 hours, and it would never exist again. It's gone. That date will never exist again. Just think about that. You string days along in a month, and you're like, oh, whatever 24th or whatever 14th. The problem is that whatever 14th is powerful because it would never happen again. Whatever year you're in, that date will never ever happen again. When you think about that, that is so powerful. You want to waste that date? You want to waste that time? You want to waste those opportunities in that day? You're never going to see it again. Ever since I was a kid, that used to fascinate me, that I would look out and see that sun go up and down. I'm like, wow, that day will never happen again. Ever. And I got to experience a day that would never happen again. There was a moment, I lived in a world, in a moment in time that would never happen again. And I was fortunate enough to experience it. That's pretty incredible. That's some deep shit. I take that type of mindset into every endeavor that I do as far as goals go, and achievement, and my relationships, and my work ethic, and my self-discipline, my self-love, respect. Whenever I meditate, when I reflect, my rest, my recovery, my reflection. All these things make up an incredible mindset of being prepared for anything, but also appreciating everything. That gratitude that's in place for every day. That opportunity that you have every single day. The momentum you can cause just by pushing forward. I was talking to who I referenced many times on this podcast, my beautiful butterfly, and she says, we were just talking about this today about the butterfly effect, and it's something I never talked about in this podcast, but it's powerful because what you do now dictates what's going to happen in the future, and it only takes a small gesture. You can write one sentence on a social media post and it can go viral and affect billions of people over time. That's pretty powerful. That's the living definition of the butterfly effect. But there's also a smaller aspect of that where you could be in a relationship with someone, no matter what it is. It could be a friendship, a wife, husband, child, teacher, pastor, whatever it is. And you have butterfly effect implications on every one of those interactions because those people are imprinting on you in a certain way. Any person you meet, positively or negatively, there's an impression on each individual. Now, some people take that imprinting and they may not do anything with it. But there's other people who might say, I'm going to take the positive and the negative out of this interaction, and I'm going to get the total benefit of this interaction. Just like you would get the total benefit of each day. And if you look at everything as that same quality, you're always going to be ready for anything. Because you never take anything for granted. You never look at anything or interact with anything or anyone and say, this is an insignificant interaction. Because you're putting your value on yourself at a higher level. You're saying, I'm not 25% of who I am, even though I know I'm flawed. I'm 100% of who I am right now, even though I have more work to do. Because I've said this 1,000 times. You could be at 100%. Is that your end? Sorry, there is no end. We don't stop counting at 100. We keep going with the brave never fall. We go past 100. Fuck 100. We go much past that. We go into infinity. My favorite number is the number 8. And it's significant to me because I was born on December 8th. And that 8, if you turn it to its side, that's an infinity sign. There is no end. I'm the living definition of that. I love that. I can't run from that even if I wanted to. I literally see the infinity sign every time I write my birth date. Every time I think of who I am, that's what I see. There is no end. If there is no end, you have to be ready for anything. That means new scenarios are going to be coming at you countless times for infinity. Well past your last breath. We don't know what happens after we draw our last breath. We have no clue. I want to prepare myself for anything, even beyond where we are now. That sounds weird and crazy, but in Tao, that's what we teach ourselves, is that you are more than the vessel that's carrying your soul right now. You are more than that spaghetti mesh of a brain you have in your head, that odd shaped heart you have in your body, that uniqueness of your body. Everybody's different. Everybody's wired different. However, wired differently means one thing to one person, but I view things differently when it comes to wired differently. And David Goggins said this in one of his podcasts, and he said people always say to him that he's wired differently because he goes harder than anybody that they've seen thus far in their life. And he says, I'm not wired differently, dude. All I'm doing is going after what I want. I'm not accepting mediocrity, being comfortable, being content. I want to push the levels of my existence. I want to push the levels of who I am. I want to go beyond the barriers of what people expect of me. I want to go beyond the barriers and thresholds of what I expect of myself. When you get to that point, everybody can look back and look at you and say, he either has it or she either has it, or he doesn't or she doesn't. Meaning they're going to judge you on what they see. Do you care what these people see? Do you care what these people say? Do you care what these people do? If they're higher enough on the value chain for you, where you actually care about it, then sure. Maybe you should care, because they're offering you value and they're valuable in your life, and you want to keep those people close to you. The people who are low value, why would you worry about them? They're not ready for you because you are already on another path. You've transcended what they thought was capable of a human being that close to them in their life. They don't understand you. You're almost an alien to them at that point. You might as well be Superman or Supergirl. Doesn't matter. Superwoman. I know a lot of people don't like the term Supergirl. I don't know why. I particularly don't like that either. Superman, Supergirl, Superwoman. Let's just say Wonder Woman. You're a wonderful woman. And if people don't appreciate that, that's on them. If you're a Superman and people don't appreciate that, that's on them. What's important is you remain purposeful. Ooh, wow, that word came out weird. Purposeful in your purpose. And if you can't sustain that, then you're focused on the wrong things to begin with. And that's the true key of life, is that are you truly focused on the things you need to be focused on? Now, are you ready for the next challenge? Because the next challenge is always going to be bigger than the last one. You're conditioned for that to be so. Your body and your mind, your heart and your soul are always ready for a bigger challenge, a bigger obstacle, a bigger problem. We're not talking about drama and dealing with toxic people and all these people that you don't need in your life. Jettison them and move on. We're talking about the issues and things that you want to bring in your life that are super positive, that are going to make you evolve and adapt to a new version of yourself. A better version of yourself that holds yourself accountable, that aids to your self-love, your self-respect, your self-discipline, and your self-control. It aids to that. It doesn't take away from that. It doesn't retract from that. You're building up yourself, and you're ready for that volcano in front of you. You're ready to take it down by yourself if necessary. But because you have such a high value, you won't have to do it by yourself. There'll be people around you that are going to come to you and say, we got your back because we know you have our back. And together, through freedom and connection, being brave and bold, we'll do it together. And if no one has told you this today, I love you. You deserve to hear that. Salute to you all. The brave never fall.